And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Benched with Bubba, episode 776, recapping your Week 18 NFBC FAAB and much, much more. To help me to do this, as usual, co-host of the show. You can find him on Twitter at BreakingBen_T. Bented, how we doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good, Bubba. Pretty light week for FAAB, like you said, and then also for the news. A little shorter list than what we usually have, but maybe we'll think of things as we go along. But I guess not just some of the players are taking off after the fantasy players are taking off after the All-Star break because of football and stuff. But it seems like the league's kind of quiet right now, which is kind of weird. But it won't be that way once the trade deadline happens. I'm sure we'll have plenty of news after that.
It's the calm before the storm. Yep, it's the calm before the storm right now. It's like you see a million rumors out there. Maybe a tenth of them have validity to them, but it's still just enough to spice things up. So that'll create some trades. There's a lot of players that are day-to-day right now, a ton. So I did not put them on the news like that. If people want that, it's on the Patreon or anywhere else you want to search pretty much. A lot of those. A lot of rehabbing pitchers. We should be getting players back pretty soon that might result in some of the players we talk about today that got picked up this week. But it'll kind of be a smorgasbord of what took place, and wasn't a whole lot. Maybe more strategic involved here. I know I was listening to Mark Winokur on Waxman's pod, and he said people are just making moves to make moves these days. Yes and no. I see the point to his question, but at the same time, if I'm like sixth place, I'm trying to grind out every freaking thing I can get right about now. And if it means a $2 here, $2 there, that's what we're doing. But I get his point as well. So we'll see how this goes the next few weeks. Like I said, it's week 18, so that means we have 9 more weeks of FAAB. For those doing quick math, if I'm correct, 27 weeks, right, Ben? Am I good with that?
Yeah, you are correct. We're 2/3 through the season in terms of FAAB.
That's crazy, insane. 2/3. It seems like we just started doing this, Ben. This is nuts. But let's get to that recent news real quick. Isaac Paredes, and see, this isn't even like official news. He goes on the IL with a hamstring injury. The quotes did not sound great at all. He's supposed to be undergoing an MRI on Monday. We have not seen the results of that just yet. I feel like it's at least a month, what we're seeing here, just by the comments. With the Astros, you never know. Could be a lot of things. Where are you at on this ESOC thing? It was an interesting move, or some dropped them, some are waiting for the news. Where were you on this one?
I only have him on one of my 4 FAAB leagues, and I did not make a move to cut him. The note on the NFBC player page says that the manager, Joe Espada, said the injury doesn't look very good. And I didn't see the replay of what happened, but I heard from listening to various things that he basically just took himself out right away and knew as soon as he hit. I think he hit it off the wall or something, and he just made it to first, and that was it. So that does not sound good. So I think Paredes. Hopefully, we get some more news by next Sunday, or this upcoming Sunday, because then he probably would be a drop. Unfortunately, it really affects the Astros though, because their lineup is pretty bad currently, and
it's getting rough for sure.
They should be a streaming target, I think, and I haven't really made that connection yet. I forget who I was looking at. Someone, I think, may have been Brendan Pfaadt is facing them this week, and I was debating sitting him. I might have to check my lineup as we're doing this, but I think I was debating sitting him. But now the Astros they seem like a target. They're 2, 3, 4 is Altuve, Caratini, Walker. Okay, Altuve, Walker, but then they have Cam Smith-Leanoff. He's been doing well. Then Yainer. Then 6 through 9, Taylor Trammell, Mauricio Dubon, Cooper Hummel, and Zach Short. That is atrocious.
Yeah, it's really bad. Really bad.
Stream against the Astros with a decent pitcher, at least. I wouldn't go too crazy, but they're definitely a pretty good target, I think, right now.
Yeah, they'll have their moments. There's no denying that, but I will take my chances. To your point, like, I'm just pulling up since June 1st. It's probably too big of a sample for what this team has going right now. But to your point, they are hitting 262. Let's shrink this down. Let's just do the past month here. So let's just say June 20th for fun, and see where this goes. A little closer to reality for Astros fans. Yeah, this is a little different. Oh, well, they're actually crushing it then too. So we'll see with these players out. Like, they're actually really good of late. But to your point, the bottom half of that lineup feels like it's a Guardians team right about now. For years, it's always been, hey, they have like 4 or 5 really good guys up top, and then it's like, yeah, nobody. Victor Caratini's playing every day, and I've been playing him in an OC as my catcher too, and no regrets. It's been great, but it's to the point of the lineup. If he's playing every day, they're struggling. They need Christian Walker to keep hitting the way he's hitting in July. They need Altuve, Smith, and some others. But yeah, it's a rough lineup. Maybe they let Shea Whitcomb play. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Been pounding that drum for 3 months at least. But they did call him up, so we'll see if that happens. Maybe Bryce Matthews gets going. Who knows? He seems kind of overmatched at this point in time. But Yeah, to the original point, let's see the results of the MRI, but I'm feeling like it's a drop because if it's a month, we have 9 weeks to go. So it's almost half a year stretch. It's getting sketchy. And then one setback, and now he's done for the year, so on and so forth. And the Astros still, even with the bad lineup, are contending for a playoff spot. So they want Paredes in the postseason. So there's no point to run him back. As you can see with Yordan and company, they have not done that so far. Or they did, and it backfired. All right. The Phillies, they keep signing relievers. It's like a yearly tradition. They just keep adding guys all the time. David Robertson signs a deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think many of us thought, hey, why do the Rangers not sign this guy? At the beginning of the season when they needed a closer? Never did. The latest report surrounding Mr. Robertson, Ben, let me pull the exact one up here. It's about 12 news blurbs deep. Here it is. He'll be ready to go by August 5th. That's what they're expecting in Philadelphia. So he's going to go to AAA to ramp up. He must spend 15 days there once he begins. So he's there now. He has to spend 15 days there now before he can ramp up. Or I'm assuming if pitcher goes on the IL, he can come up sooner. But if we're talking August 5th, we're going to talk about David Robertson again later because some people spent some big money. What were your interest in Robertson? Because I was not as interested as many others.
I want to say that he wasn't available in any of my leagues, so he wasn't drafted. Actually, that's a lie. He's available in one of them. Free agency. He's actually available in 2. My listener league and my first main, which makes sense because that was early on. I'd even look in that one main, or even both teams were fine and safe, so I didn't even consider looking at Robertson. Honestly, this is probably the worst spot he could have gone for having a secure role because of how bad the Phillies are with their management of, or not bad, but how uncommitted they are to a specific player. So unless they flat out say that he's going to be the closer, it could very well just be a waste of FAAB if you spent a decent portion of money on Robertson. I mean, he could be great. I did take him in a DC. I actually had him in my lineup thinking that he was able to be on the roster right away. But then I saw the note in the Discord about, I think, you mentioned the 15 days. It's like August 5th or 6th, I think, is the first day he's eligible to pitch for the Phillies. So I took him out, and at least I have him there. That team's kind of dead, but I wouldn't have gone too crazy, I don't think, with FAAB. Because I know he's an option, but we have a couple weeks to go, and the team context is very bad for closers.
It's very bad for closers, and they're still linked to Sir Anthony Dominguez, another Orioles reliever. They're linked to maybe Mason Miller of the A's. Like, the point is they're still shopping for relievers, which makes you wonder what's the situation there with David Robertson. But time will tell. A lot can change in due time. Maybe they could ship him to Miami and put him in that mess down there. Who knows what's going on?
He is almost 40 and hasn't pitched since like a year ago, so it's not set up for success at all.
He was doing tryouts at a high school field in like Maine or something. So like that kind
was he hosting the tryouts, or was he actually trying out himself?
I think he was. I think that's where the teams came to watch him pitch, basically.
Oh, so he was trying to get. Okay, it was his tryout.
It was his tryout, but it was like at a high school place in Maine or something. I'm like, yeah, that feels like we're making another Disney movie, The Rookie.
It's like The Rookie, literally.
Yeah. I was like, here we go again. But hey, the Phillies are at least a legit team. You'd expect like the White Sox or something to pull this stunt.
Yeah.
All right. The last bit of main news here. Again, a lot of stuff we'll have covered throughout the week based on who gets activated, who gets traded, so on and so forth. Jake Bauers hits the IL for the Brewers, and people might say, who cares? I get it. The point I wanted to make, Ben, is see if you agree with me or not. It feels like it definitely locks in Andrew Vaughn to more playing time, though, because now his platoon partner's out of the way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So thank you for taking everything I needed to say. That was it.
Okay, yeah, no, I just wanted to see if you were on the same page because I wrote that in the news last night. I'm like, yeah, this maybe me just being speculative because I love Andrew Vaughn, but he played versus righties over the weekend, so hopefully that's a thing going forward.
The start though is a little tough, at least in especially in NFBC, because they start out the week in Seattle versus Kirby, Gilbert, and Castillo.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have high expectations for that series, but it's good for as long as Bauers is on the IL.
Yep, agreed. Just a shoulder impingement, so we'll see how long he's out for in that one. All right, let's just get to it. Told you there wasn't a whole lot of news to discuss here. Let's get to the most added players. We'll start with the NFBC OC 12-teamers. We'll hit on some main event ones, too, to help maybe people look for more options in the coming weeks. But NFBC OC 12-team leagues, because most people play 10s and 12s. Ben, we talked about it before the show. There were no 100-plus league guys. 73 was the most added league player in this entire deal. It's probably not the right way to say it, but here we are. Zebby Matthews was picked up in 73 leagues. Zebby Matthews came off the IL this past week. Zebby Matthews pitched in Coors Field over the weekend, and Zebby Matthews did not have the best time in Coors Field, allowing 5 earned runs over 4 innings with 6 strikeouts. Zebby Matthews was added for a max of 78, as low as $1. I had zero interest whatsoever in Zebby Matthews. What about you?
Same for me, Bubba. I'm looking at the start, and sure, he had 6 Ks and 1 walk, which is a great ratio. But of course, the issue that and I agree with you, like your big issue with Zebby has been he only went 4 innings. So that's the third time in 5 starts he's been below 5 innings, 4 or fewer. He had a 2.25 whip versus the Rockies. Granted, it's Coors, but it is the Rockies hitting there, and a bad ERA. He had an ERA of 11.25 in that start, 5 runs in 4 innings. So he just continues to not be good. Now he has a 6 ERA on the season and a 1.54 whip. I did listen to that point in Zach's podcast with Winokur, and I wanted to bring it up before, but we were pressed for time. But Winokur's little rant in the beginning was very funny about the "I know better," I think is what he termed it, the IKB or the UKB.
Yeah.
And he was using that for Zebby Matthews because the people who add Zebby think, well, I don't want to. This is what Mark said. I don't necessarily agree with this 100%, but I kind of have the same. I kind of see where he's coming from, but you think you know better than what Zebby has done so far. And sure, he throws hard or whatever, but he was terrible last year, Zebby. He's terrible so far this year. So I think for him to be the most added is a little reckless, but I don't know. He could prove me wrong. I said that, I think, last week. I think we may have talked about Zebby last week for news or some ads last week as well, but I just don't see it anytime soon.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like we like to use underlying metrics and that stuff to kind of try to find sleepers and whatnot. I'm kind of past that point of the year for sleepers. I think that's kind of where Mark was really leaning to. Mark also doesn't like. I don't want to speak for him, but he's kind of where the rant. Like it's a really good.
There's a couple in there.
yeah, it was a really good one. Like I totally understood where he was coming from and agreed with pretty much all of it. I think the underlying metric stuff is better for, like, say, looking for sleepers in draft season potentially or earlier in the season, because we know Zebby Matthews has like this quote unquote prospect pedigree. He's supposed to be really good. It has not translated in 2 years in the bigs, and it might someday. But for me, this late in the season, not my cup of tea. Now others, maybe so. He was added in one main event, Ben, for as high as $77 or $71, excuse me. So that's probably the only league he was available in, is my guess. So yeah, Zebby was a very popular pick. Surprised me a ton. We'll see how it pans out. And he gets Washington this week, which could be a good matchup, and then next week at Cleveland. So they're mediocre matchups, but still nothing I'd be too excited about. This one's a little more interesting. Still a lot of questions behind it, but Luke Keeschel was picked up. Minnesota Twins picked up in 71 leagues, as high as $41, as low as $1. Keeschel was rehabbing his injury. He's expected to return this week. Keeschel had 6 steals, a home run, hitting .259 over 17 games before he got hurt. Plays a lot of second base. The Twins could use some help around the infield, not to mention there's a lot of trade rumors surrounding Minnesota, which could lead to more playing time with Keeschel. There's a lot of what-ifs in that regard. But if he plays, I think we know what we're getting. What were your thoughts on Luke Keeschel this week?
Yeah, I'll cover him in one of my ads this week because I was pretty in on adding Keeschel where I needed speed, and that's what stood out to me with his, because he had 5 steals and 19 at bats when he first got called up. And I pulled up his minor league profile, and Keeschel did have a 23 steal season in 2024 with 15 homers at 300. And the team where I added him needs steals and needs average. And I was willing to. I overpaid a little bit. We'll get to the prices. I actually was pleasantly surprised to hear you just say that he's expected back potentially this week. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer. But then I looked at his player note, and he did have a good first game back in the minors. It looks like he had 3 hits. Well, actually, no, he has 3 hits through 3 games, so he's already played 3 games. That's good. And he has 2 steals. So I'm pretty excited about getting him into my lineup, even though he is util only. His eligibility is 2 second base games, and I believe that there's an option for him to play at second. I don't know. I'm gonna pull up the Twins roster right now. They have
it's moving
been playing.
Right now.
the old mascot, or no, the new mascot at second.
Mascot, the 2025 mascot.
Yeah,
yes.
2020. Yeah, we don't want the old crusty mascot anymore. We want the new one.
Larnack
is, I think Clemens is an easy boot as well, because
or Brooks Lee. Brooks Lee's been bad, like really bad. Clemens at least has been producing when he hits.
Yeah, Russell Resources already has Lee on the bench, so I think he's already gone. But I think maybe they make a trade as well, and that makes it even more obvious for Keishel to play every day. But I think the easy substitution is Clemens for him. And I don't know where he would play at that point. I don't know who else can play first. I guess Larnack could play first, maybe. And then
Willie Larnack could be the odd man out, too. He has nothing special these days.
Yeah, it's true, at least. Yeah, so maybe Willie DHs, or they just rotated guys in. But definitely a util-only play for now, which is fine if you can afford it, because I didn't have a util-only player already. So that's why I was able to be kind of aggressive on adding Keishel. So I like him. I just hope that the steals pace kind of continues where he left off.
I agree. I think, and he can play more than one position, to your point. And having Slick Willie, he can play everywhere. So you could DH Royce, you could DH Correa, just keep moving Willie around and make that work pretty easily. Like, it's nice to have options for once because they're healthy for now. We know the Twins can't stay healthy. So we'll see where that pans out. I foresee a trade taking place to really make this hopefully an easier situation. Here's another one. Francisco Alvarez picked up in 67 leagues. As high as 276, as low as $1. I will say after the 276, it was all 95 and below. Most of them were below $30 this past week, which at least is palatable in this situation. Alvarez is crushing AAA. We've said this before. I got to see it to believe it in the big league level, though.
Yeah, he was available in one of my mains. I did try to get Alvarez, but even there, I was well below the majority. No, actually, no. I kind of be in the upper quadrant because it does get pretty low quickly. You have those big outlying bids that you kind of mentioned, and then you get into the 20s pretty quickly, and then teens and a lot of single digits for the OCs at least. In the main, his average was 37.5 across 4 leagues for Alvarez. So I think I was at $28, but yeah, I agree. Going into the year, I didn't like what I was seeing with the underlying metrics for Alvarez, but at this point in the year, if you need a catcher too, you need a catcher too, and maybe you get lucky and he kind of takes the hot streak that he's had in AAA to the majors, but it is AAA, so he could very well be the pretty bad Alvarez that sent him to AAA in the first place. But if you're desperate for some power or just a catcher, it makes sense to add him right now.
Yeah, agreed. I get the ad if you need catcher. I'm not going to like people are rostering Danny Jansen right now. I get it. Like, there's a lot of similarities. Danny's actually playing well, so I don't want to completely downplay him.
He's like homer a week, actually.
Yeah,
I kind of wish I didn't drop him where I had him.
I actually wrote Danny Jansen up in FAAB this past week, which I haven't done in like 3 weeks. He's guard, but it's like, okay, he's earned the right to at least be discussed at this point in time, and I get it. Alvarez, like, again, it's almost like the Zevian Matthews of the catcher now. He's got this prospect pedigree. He crushes minor league pitching. He has not done anything at the big league level. And I remember a couple weeks back, Ryan and I were talking about him, and Ryan's like, oh, but he's only got, like, dude, he's played a lot more than people think. He's had a lot of at-bats at the big league level. Like, I know he's still really young. Maybe it figures it out. Again, yeah, if you need catcher too, fine, because catchers have been dropping like flies. But there was another catcher this week, Ben, that was called up that I would have had much more interest in, and that is Adrian Del Castillo. We call him ADC for short. Picked up in 65 leagues, as high as 67, as low as $1. He's been DHing. He's off on Monday, but they're facing a lefty. So he faced the first 3 righties, gets the day off on Monday versus a lefty. So maybe that's a thing. Hey, I'll take the strong side catching platoon. I'll take that right now with Adrian Del Castillo if you want to give it to me. Over the 3 games on the weekend, Ben Del Castillo had 5 hits. He over the weekend, 2 RBIs, 2 runs. I love the guy. What are your thoughts on this Del Castillo thing? I didn't pick up any in FAAB. I have him in a lot of DCs, but I love that he's finally getting a shot to play.
I think I did have bids in for him on almost every of my I don't know if it was all 4 of my leagues, but at least 3 of the 4. I may have been one of the few people who wasn't too happy at the move in the Discord, because I had Jake McCarthy on all 4 FAAB leagues, and I had to drop Jake McCarthy all 4 FAAB leagues this week because one start in 3 games versus righties. Unless there's a trade, he's not going to play at all. So this is McCarthy I'm talking about. So that is my view on the Adrian Del Castillo call up, but I think I may have preferred Del Castillo over Alvarez in that one league. I have to go back and check my bid list, but they were neck and neck. They were both $28 on my bid list, Alvarez and Del Castillo. Honestly, well, Alvarez had that good rookie year, but last year Del Castillo was pretty good when he got called up as well. I mean, he can steal a base or two, and he was DHing, so he's going to play pretty regularly. I don't know if he's going to. You pointed out the sit versus the lefty tonight. I don't know if that's going to be a thing going forward. The D-backs do like their platoons because they have Grichuk, and then who else? Blaze Alexander's back, James McCann. They're kind of the three platoon guys. So it could be well, if he's a catcher though, you take the platoon anyway because most catchers will play all the time anyway. So it doesn't really matter. It's just you're hoping for the average, some power, and a lot of playing time when he is in the lineup. So it's definitely a good ad.
Like his defense is kind of suspect. That's why he's had issues. But like right now they have Jose Herrera and James McCann platooning. Pretty sure you could beat both of them out when things come down to it. We'll see how Diamondbacks feel on that. Not to mention, like if they do trade Josh Naylor or something, ADC was getting prepped to play first base in spring training. So that is another avenue. Now Pavin Smith could return at some point. There's moving parts. Pavin Smith wasn't that good, and he can go play the outfield or something. So they need to give a 9-week run to this kid to see what they really have because the hit tool is really good. They need to find a place for him on the roster if possible. And he was the most added player in main events, by the way, 52 leagues, as high as 61, as low as $1. The next most added player was in 33 leagues. So Adrian Del Castillo, far and away the most added player in main events, which makes sense because he probably wasn't available in most until he played over the weekend. So that was why we saw that bump. Joey Cantillo of the Cleveland Guardians picked up in 64 OCs, as high as 25, as low as $1. I was kind of preaching pick up Castillo or Cantillo last week if you can. I know I didn't get him everywhere because he was farther on the waterfall, but love the skill set. He showed some massive flashes last year, especially towards the end of the season. Ben, I have him in most of my DCs, and he gets a 2-step this week. He gets a 2-step against the Baltimore Orioles and the Royals, who both struggle versus lefties. So where were you at on Joey Cantillo this week?
Well, I was looking at his ads across my leagues, and he was added 2 weeks ago in the 15s. So just another example of the OCs catching up. But I think this is more so to how you just describe what you just pointed out is the 2-step this week with the Orioles and the Royals, because he is in my lineups where I have him, I believe, Cantillo, because it's a very good two-start week. He was a little shaky last couple outings, but he did have pretty good K numbers, 7 and 6 in those 2 starts versus the Astros and the White Sox, of course, 2 teams that should be easy targets, but only 3 walks combined across the 2 starts for Cantillo. So I think hopefully he gets a little better batted ball luck this time around, and maybe he's able to strand a few base runners because he has allowed 7 runs in 9 innings, but I think he pitched better than that. So I think it's a good stream, and I don't know in a 12 if you'd want to keep him afterwards. Maybe you see how well he does, but I mean he could be an option going forward, Cantillo in 12s, but he probably a drop after this week.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a streamer, not a locked-in starter in 12s. He's close to a locked-in in 15s just because of the volume I think
he's a bench streamer at the minimum in 15s.
100%. Like, he's a guy you're going to use. Let's say he's got 9 more starts. I know he's got the 2 starts. Let's just say 9 starts the rest of the way. Probably going to use him for at least 6 of them. Just off the top of my head, just because that's the landscape we live in now. Like, again, I'd rather have Joey Cantillo than Zebby Matthews. So this is kind of where we were, like, for me in this scenario. I don't know about you, but that's where I kind of looked at it.
Well, I have Cantillo on 2 teams, and I have Zebby on none, so there you go.
There's answers that question. This most definitely. Now, this is one that I'm very surprised I'm glad to see it got to the OC streets, but when I was writing them up over the weekend, I'm like, yeah, people are probably going to say he's more of a 15 team, but I'm like, Angel Martinez is proven to be some 12-team worthy at this point in time. Now, that could change. But he's picked up in 59 OCs this week, as high as 32, as low as $1. He's been hitting second in the lineup, plays center field most days, occasionally plays second. That's why he's got that dual eligibility, Ben. And of late, he is raking, absolutely raking. Since July 1st, we've seen Angel Martinez hitting 288 with 4 homers, 10 runs, 12 RBIs, and a steal. Like, still kind of reeks a little bit of more 15s and 12s, but it's been good enough to be 12 worthy of late. So I'm surprised to see the OCs jump on. Where were you at on Angel Martinez?
I was debating adding him at least last week in my 15-teamers, But then I looked into him a little deeper, and if I know Winokur probably is going to listen because he said he's been on the football, but he would hate me for saying this. But I was looking at his StatCast, Martinez's, and it's not the best. So it was after the 3 homer week, I was really looking at him more. I think I looked at him even before that because he was playing all the time, so he was appearing in my filters when I was sorting by plate or at bats. And Martinez has a 12th percentile barrel rate, so he has 9 homers on the year and 9 barrels. So I think he's getting a little lucky. His xWOBA is 262. His average exit velocity is 87.6. His XBA is 232. His sprint speed is only 58th percentile. So I think if you added him in an OC, you probably just missed all the best production for Martinez because I still had him in bid list this week just because of how 15 teamers are, but I wasn't too aggressive with the amount for my bids on him. His XBA isn't even good. It's 232, and his average exit velocity is 19%. Yeah, the 87.6 is 19th percentile. He doesn't walk a lot, so he's got to really get on. He's only hitting 246. He could keep it going, but what I'm seeing here doesn't really suggest that he's going to keep 4 homers in 2 weeks going anytime soon. So he could probably be a pretty quick drop here in 12 teamers, and just because of the playing time, he's probably going to stick around for 15s, and he's dual eligible, second in outfield. But I don't think Angel Martinez is probably going to stick around for too long on rosters.
Yeah, we'll throw this out here using the weekly projections that Ryan has added to the weekly planner column. I pulled up Angel Martinez to see where that sticks out. And yeah, to your point, he's going to basically on pace for 3 runs scored, a 237 average, a half a home run, 3 RBIs, and a half a steal. Probably won't cut it, but maybe he gets hot. To your point, we probably already saw the best of Angel Martinez. So we'll see how that pans out. It's like I had him down my waterfalls, was not overly aggressive on the waterfalls. But yeah, definitely interested in good points on maybe taking a step back and looking at what's really taking place. That's why I was surprised OCs were that aggressive on him, to be totally honest. Mickey Moniak picked up in 58 leagues, as high as 33, as low as $1. Those weren't my leagues because people are asleep at the wheel, apparently. You should have had him for this past weekend. But Mickey Moniak, I mentioned it in the Discord, mentioned it in the write-up this week, Ben. He's actually been really good of late. Like, I know he platoons a lot, Ben, but since June 1st, dude's hitting 356, 9 homers, 21 RBIs, 4 steals. And what I had to do to back this up, 20% barrel rate and a 49% hard hit rate. Like, his quality of contact's very, very good. Now, could fall off a bridge, Ben. But where are you at on Mickey Moniak? He's long gone in main events. But this goes to show you the world of OCs that we live in. People saw the 3 games in Coors to start the week, missed the 3 games out of the break. Here we are.
Right, yeah, he was added in June in my main events, and he's been held since then. He's actually available in my – yeah, definitely. He's actually available in my – listener league still. No one's added him. I did have him in a bid list this week, but I figured who I got over, and we'll talk about it. I think it's mainly for me, it's the in and out of Coors and then the in and out versus the lefties and the righties, which is really the issue.
Yeah, that's the bigger issue for me is the platoon split. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you have to ideally you want a series of a lot of righties in Coors, and I mean, how often are you gonna? Is it lightning in a strike to get it perfect like that? At the last 6 games, at least on Roster Resource, I don't have the lineup tracker up. I have the roster page up. They've faced 6 righties, and he actually even sat one the Saturday before the All-Star break. It looks like Moniak, but he's hitting top of the lineup, first and second, or the last 5 games. And I wish he stole a little bit more. I think he has some steals. He has 5 on the year, which is nothing. Which isn't nothing. It's like a 10 steal pace, which is pretty helpful. So I guess it makes sense that he's added now. He could probably be dropped if you really need a spot. So I do get where you're coming from, because I do see the upside. It's just hard to keep him around if you're not going to play him all the time, even if he is good when he plays. It's a classic platoon bat, and then you have to deal with the Coors hangover if he goes away for a series, which is probably going to happen at the end of this week. I think you said they're home to start the week, right? And then they're away. So maybe you don't want to play him on the weekend.
Well, we'll talk about that right now. So they have 6 games this week, 5 righties, 1 lefty. The first 3 games in Coors, all righties. Looks great.
Perfect.
In Baltimore, it's 2 righties and 1 lefty. And those 2 righties are Sagano, who pitches to contact, and Dean Kramer. I think you take those 2 out of 3 games, honestly.
Yeah, from the hitter perspective, you do. I do have
Yeah.
Kramer and Sugano going in across my teams because of the Colorado on the road. So as a whole, it should be good for Kramer and Sugano. But if Moniak can kind of shake off the hangover, yeah, it's definitely. And Baltimore is short. They have the mini monster in right, so he should have a pretty good time there. But yeah, for the home series, it's McGreevy, Fetty, and Poliante. So
It's
if he doesn't go
beautiful.
ballistic, it's going to be a pretty upsetting start to the week.
If he's not starting all 3 games, I am going to be furious. Like that, because you can see that the teams are doing like Luis Garcia Jr. I know he's not having the best season, but he's sitting versus a righty tonight. Like, what are we doing, Washington? What
Sits
are
in
we
that
doing?
versus lefties.
Yeah, so that's my point. It's like, what are we doing right now? So if they start sitting Moniak, we're gonna have some words that no one's gonna care about, but I'm gonna have some words at the wall over here. That's about all it's gonna listen to me. But yeah, I love the skill set. It's actually looks pretty legit right now. So we'll see where it pans out. Eric Lauer, another skill set that looks pretty good. Picked up in 58 leagues, as high as 31, as low as $1. Lauer is well, the league sucks versus lefties. That's been established on multiple shows of late. But Lauer's been looking pretty good. 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 Ks versus the Giants, who can't hit lefties. 4 innings, 2 runs, 7 versus the White Sox. 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 Ks versus the Angels. So he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs the entire season, given he's out of the bullpen for a while. But he's been starting since June 11th, Ben, which is pretty good. And when you look at the upcoming matchups for Eric Lauer, he is facing he gets Detroit this week, which I think I would probably sit, but he gets Baltimore the following week, which is pretty good right now. So where are you at on Eric Lauer?
I have him in 3 or 4 FAAB leagues.
There you
And
go.
I have been going back and forth with actually starting Lauer in my good main event. I've been talking to the guild about options because we both have Quinn Priester in our.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good option. That's a good dilemma right there, actually.
Yeah, so my options are, I'm sure this is an example. I guess this is kind of relevant for what we're doing here. So I have Lauer versus the Tigers. I have Priester versus the Mariners. I have Schlittler versus the Blue Jays, and I have Chris Bassett versus the Yankees. So
oh my god.
So Priester, Schlittler, and Bassett, their opponents have the 3 highest WRC pluses versus righties over the last 3 weeks, and they're all right-handed. But then Lauer is facing the Tigers, who have a 65 WRC plus versus lefties over the last 3 weeks. So I went to Priester for a moment because in Seattle, they're in Seattle, but it's also a day game, and I think you read that article that came out during the winter about how the batter's eye kind of, with the sun shining on it, kind of messes with hitters. So I'm like, okay, maybe at a 3 o'clock game or 4 o'clock, it's going to be awful to see. And he's been pretty dominant. He's shut down the Dodgers, Priester. But I'm like, well, maybe Lauer's going to have a blow up finally. But then Gil's like, well, who in the lineup are you scared of that's right-handed? It's basically just Torkelson, and then Glaber's good, but he doesn't hit for power really. Yeah, so it's yeah. And I told Gills, I go, well, Riley Green could hit a home reverse Lauer because he's good enough to do that. So I went back in, and I currently have it where I'm starting Lauer versus the Tiger. I think I have him in all 3 spots starting, I believe, because they're all 15-teamers. Yeah, I'm starting him in all 3 leagues, Lauer. I'm trusting the matchup data. And the only thing that is really, I won't say concerning, but it's a kind of dampens the shine on him is, if that's even a term, I don't know. I probably combine a couple of things right there. His swing strike rate over the last 3 weeks, roughly, Lauer's is 8.5%. So the 28.8% K rate is a little elevated. But I said this last time, too. We talked about Lauer. His CSW is 26.3, which is actually not bad. It's okay. So if he can keep getting called strikes, he's going to keep doing fine because he doesn't walk anybody. The contact is a little hard against him. Exit velo is 92 miles per hour over that period. But he's rolling right now, and I think it's a good matchup, so it makes sense to add him. But I don't know. I guess everyone's looking at the matchup because he has been pitching well on top of that too. So I support the ad. It was just an interesting decision to start him or not this week.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of breaking it down. I like that way you were doing that. I was looking at the weekly planner and just like the WRC Plus page that Ryan has for the pitchers. And yeah, all 4 of those very difficult situations to decipher when you look at the overall matchups that they have on paper. I like how you broke it down, like Guild said, like, who are you really afraid of in Detroit? And I guess the thing I am with Detroit, and I support the Lauer start, totally get it. It's just they're not so much a home run team I worry about. They're just pesky and annoying. Like, they're going to walk. They're going to get base. They're going to hit 4 singles in a row or something. And that's what they're going to do. And that's where it's like, okay, this sucks. because Lauer isn't going to go deep into games that often unless he's efficient. That's the only caveat I get concerned with. But I get it. The strikeouts should totally be there still.
And to your point, so I looked up for the, at least for the Tiger, I looked at more than just the WRC plus. So their K rate is actually not that high. Their average was like 180, 190 in that period, but their BABIP was like 220. So it sounds like they're getting unlucky versus lefties at least. I don't know if they're bad versus lefties. It's just that they're not. But then I said, okay, are they hitting soft, weak contact? Because the page I was looking at doesn't really tell you what the XBA was going to be. It was just more like the Fangraphs generic stats. But I don't know if they have Team X stats, which would be kind of crazy if they did. I guess you can kind of aggregate all the players on the team and try to figure it out that way. But so it's not a surefire start still in my mind. But the other three options, at least I had, were pretty. The teams were pretty hot they were facing. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just go with the hopefully the status quo holds for this 1 week.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like the thought process. There's a good way to break it down for the listeners that, again, we're at that time of the year. I could keep bringing it back, but this is why people are adding Zebby Matthews, is because there's just a lot of tough situations out there. And I'd still take pretty much everyone you mentioned over that. But yeah, it's not as easy as just plug and play these days, which is why we grind and others go on to football, Ben. It's just how it works.
I was thinking we're getting close to that point of looking at the streamers versus the teams that we did last year.
Yes,
it's getting close to that.
Definitely getting close to that time of the year. We got Max Muncy of the Dodgers picked up in 57 leagues, as high as 62, as low as $1. We got that recent news. He's about 2 weeks out, so he's ahead of schedule, Ben. I totally understand the move. Not too concerned there.
No, it's still a stash, but he was on fire when he got hurt, and hopefully he would keep that going. I guess the 6 weeks seems like a bit of an overestimate, so that's actually a positive and kind of rare these days. Usually it's an underestimate on the timelines for these guys. But granted, he's not back yet, Muncy. It's just an estimate still, but it's definitely good news with his injury return.
Yep, totally get it. I was interested in him, but I'm also having a tough time stashing too much these days. So, like, I was looking at some stashes we'll get to later. I don't even think I got any of the stashes, but and Muncy was only available in like one of my leagues. So the fact he's picked up in 57 leagues, I'm like, God dang, I was in the wrong leagues. So
there's a lot of OCs.
Yeah, changes as well. Ramon Laureano picked up in 55 leagues, as high as $30, as low as $1. Another guy that, similar to some other players, like, what took so long to add Ramon Laureano? I know he's boring to some, but and like the overall stat line's 11 home runs, 276, 4 steals, so it's not like crazy. But it's just a consistent producer. He's like a Tommy Pham. He's good. So what were your thoughts on Laureano, who, again, maybe better for 15s, but still has some 12-team appeal?
Yeah, I kept hearing you and Ryan talk about him in all your episodes about how he's still available. And then I just looked at my transactions, and he was added at the start of June across my league. So that's why I haven't had to think about Laureano in a long time. I don't have any in my leagues, but yeah. So you called out his season stats, and they're kind of underwhelming, but he's kind of doing what Jansen is doing, Danny Jansen, that is, where he's hitting like a homer per week. So has a couple steals in there, averaging like 20 at-bats, which is really good. 3 weeks with more than 20 at-bats. And averages that look pretty good. He had a 444 week, a 381, 280, 250. So Laureano has definitely been playing well, and it seems like no matter who comes back for the Orioles, his playing time is safe, which is kind of surprising to say after how we thought their lineup would be. So he's been hitting fifth mostly, which is just fine, Laureano. So he probably should be kept in the OCs now that he's added.
Yep, I would keep him as long as the playing time's there, to your point. So not too much budging there. Your boy Dean Kramer picked up in 50 leagues, as high as $32, as low as $1. Again, that time of the year, but Dean Kramer does get the road Rockies, so it's very, very appetizing. Gets Toronto the following weeks. It's probably a one and done situation in OCs, Ben. But you mentioned it, you're playing him. So are you agreeing with these people?
I am. I have him in 4 of 6 DCs. So I think there was a point I think when I left draft season, he was my most rostered player because I had him in a couple of 15s just because. But I feel like that was a mistake because he's definitely more of an OC play. I mean, a DC play versus even a 15-teamer because doesn't have that upside for you want with a late pick even in the 15. But I'll learn that for next year. Not that it's really killed me in a ton of spots, but it's just something a good takeaway for next year draft season, especially for you too. You're about to draft in like 2 weeks, so you got to start thinking.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, but you're welcome. I agree though, because I mentioned Schlittler versus the Blue Jays as a sit because they've been a top 3 team versus righties over the last 3 weeks. So I would not keep Kramer around after this week.
Yep, 100% on board with you on that one. Let's talk Caleb Durbin. It's one of those we've been waiting for it to happen, and it seems like it's happening. Picked up in 49 leagues, as high as 32, as low as $1. Since June 1st, hitting 311, 4 homers, 4 steals, 23 runs scored. He's picked it up even better over the last few weeks, like since June 22nd. We had a big weekend against the Dodgers, not to mention, but he's hitting 388 since the 22nd, 2 homers, 12 runs, 10 ribbies, 4 stolen bases. Are you in? Like, I know I was heavy in draft season on Durbin. I think you were. I can't remember. I don't want to speak for you. Are you back in the Durbin business?
I did draft him in at least one spot, and I think I had to drop him because he didn't make the team right away, which was kind of annoying. But so I'm looking at, so this is week 18, right? So leading up to the All-Star break, Durbin only had 13 at bats in week 15 and 13 in week 16, and I believe both of those were full weeks. So that's that made me look at the lineup tracker on Fangraphs, and he has been sitting occasionally versus righties and even a lefty, which is kind of weird. But I think when we talked about Durbin before, my biggest, it's not really an issue, but just a reason to pause is that he's been batting at the bottom of the lineup. So that's I think that's taking away from his at bats. So if you need steals, I do need steals. I would have added him if he was available for sure. But just the playing time is probably there, but the volume might not be with it as well. So he could be hurting you a little bit in other categories, like our runs and homers. Because I remember we had the discussion about how he had 20 runs in a month or something, and I said I was surprising considering where he's batting in the lineup. So maybe going forward now, he's probably like a 10 run per month player. But if you need the steals, you need the steals. So and his average has been pretty good too as well. So I think Durbin is a good ad. Just be careful that he doesn't hurt you in other spots.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Like, that's why I was kind of okay. I like him, but I don't know if I want to spend money on him because it's just strictly batting average. He wasn't doing anything. Now he's at least contributing to the stat line. I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's see where this goes. Brewers team's really good, and as long as they keep playing him every day, I will be invested on that one. Bailey Ober picked up in 48 leagues, as high as 31, as low as $1. Had a pretty decent first rehab start. Ben, were you getting back in on Bailey Ober after what we've seen this year and after a rehab start?
No, I don't think maybe on one team where I had a stash for a pitcher, I added him to my list, but I didn't aggressively add Ober back anywhere. He kind of, looking back at the teams that I do have him on, it's amazing the one DC is actually doing all right still, pitching wise, despite having Ober for like every start. It feels like, because in a DC you can't really do a whole lot, especially when you're top 100 pitchers healthy. You kind of have to start them all the time. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's a thing you have to be more careful with, but you would expect him to turn it around. And I think the velocity was kind of low too, from what I heard. Wasn't back to where he was last year.
It was below, yes.
Is that true?
Yeah, it was down.
Yeah. So I remember at some point I heard someone talking during a podcast, or maybe in the offseason, about extension. And I think with Ober, it makes sense because he doesn't throw very hard. So he's cutting down on the distance from home and the mound because he's so tall. So if he has like an elite extension and he throws 91, he can get away with it because he's still cutting down the reaction time. But when you take it down to 9 miles per hour, you really got to do something extra special. And I don't know if the extension is really going to cut it for him. So if the velocity stays down, I doubt he's going to be useful. And I have him in my 12-team home league, which he's stashed on my IL there, which I could afford to do and to see how he does when he gets back. And that's an easy cut as well. But yeah, in the 15s, I didn't even bother trying to add him back.
Yeah, I had him on my waterfalls. I don't think I got him anywhere, but it was like $2, $3. Like, if I get him for cheap, I'll think about it. But yeah, not too excited. And to your point, he's on my benches in a lot of DCs right now, thank God. So you have to start him when he's healthy because you don't have a choice. So we have averted that situation. I want to get your thoughts on Lenyn Sosa. Picked up in 47 leagues, as high as $26, as low as $1. Since July 1st, hitting 259, 3 homers, 12 RBIs, tossed in a stolen base. I love him in DCs. He was one of my favorite pickups or drafts picks in DCs because he was late and he's eligible all over the diamond. He's been very productive this year. Again, more of a 15 than a 12. It's been a theme today on this show. Where are you at on Lenyn Sosa?
He's been there in my 15s for a good amount of time now, but I think where I needed him was where I needed speed, and he doesn't really do that consistently. So he had a steal last 2 weeks ago, but that was his first one since week 7. So he's not really a speed guy. He's kind of just been I guess Tommy Pham, because you mentioned him earlier, just 100 in average, gets you some homers every once in a while, some runs and RBIs. Great for DCs because of the 3-position eligibility. And I think he's batting in a pretty good spot in the White Sox line, or a good spot in the lineup as well. He's been hitting
usually like 5th, I think.
Actually, no, he's not. He's been hitting. Well, he hit 4th a couple times. Maybe I saw that, but he's been back down to 7th or 8th, which is kind of annoying. But
all those powerhouses in Chicago, you might as well drop them down the order. Definitely.
Yeah, Kyle Thielen is 190 average, and Vargas, who's been awful as well, and my draw, I thought, whatever. That's why they're the White Sox.
Yep.
But yeah, he's over the last few weeks. Well, yeah, he has 5 homers over the last 4 weeks, and it was 5 and 3 before last week, where the All-Star break occurred. So I think the OCs are just kind of catching up to the production, how they always do compared to the main events. And I don't know if he's going to continue. I haven't really looked into him too much because in a DC you can't really. Well, like I said, it was more the steal profile is what I'm looking for a middle infielder, and I don't think I really need a third anywhere. And first was okay for my teams, luckily. So if I needed a middle infielder, he didn't really fit the bill too much. So that's why I wasn't too aggressive in adding him. But I do like the ad.
Yep, definitely. I'm not going to talk about him because we talked about him last week, but Andrew Vaughn picked up in 42 leagues, as high as 45, as low as $1. He's going to get more playing time. Isaac Collins, another been a 15, played forever. 12s are catching up on that one. I want to get your thoughts on Kumar Rocker. Picked up in 41 leagues, as high as 35, as low as $1. There was high expectations for Rocker. Heck, when he was drafted, there was high expectations for Rocker. Injuries have derailed things. It was a slow start to the year. He got demoted at one point in time. But then he came back up on June 4th. And since then, feels like we've seen a different Kumar Rocker, Ben. He got shelled in his first outing, 5 runs. Then it was 0, 2, 2, 2. Gave up 6 to the Angels, but then 0 again over the weekend against Detroit. 6 1/3, no earned runs, 5 Ks. He's looked a lot better of late. There's still some holes in the game. Where are you at on a guy like Kumar Rocker? Again, in 15s, he fits in pretty well more often than not. In 12s, though, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, to your point, he has been rostered in my 15s for a while now, I believe. I don't know why this is all out of order for him, but yeah, the walks and the Ks are a little close together for me. I think
that's fair.
It's kind of what you're alluding to because he had 5 Ks and 3 walks in his last start versus the Tigers, only 1 hit allowed, so he got very fortunate with his BABIP. And the Angels start only 2 Ks, 1 walk versus the Padres when he did pretty well, 4 Ks, 2 walks. And even versus the Pirates, he was 4 Ks, 3 walks back in middle of June. So the walks are still kind of the walks with the lack of a lot of Ks to kind of counteract the walks is my concern. But look, I pulled up the lineup or the matchup for him. He's facing the Braves, who have been not very good. They could go off in theory. We keep saying that. At least I keep saying that. And sometimes I guess the Yankees, they went off, of course. Why not? Yeah, it was like my phone was going off every minute with either a run from the Yankees or the Braves in that series. It was wild. So, yeah, we kind of said it before. Pitching is hard to come by, and Kumar has some upside. And it makes sense. It's just he might not be a every start play. You kind of have to pick your spots with him.
For sure. Like, I think there's we're seeing improvements. This is what we want to see. I just don't know if it's going to be good enough this go around. But definitely a guy, again, plenty of time to talk about this, would be interested to see where he's getting drafted next year. Because I think he'll be affordable and we're taking a shot on type thing. So I like what we're seeing improved wise. I agree the command is what I kind of got concerned about because originally he's supposed to be this like massive strikeout guy. He's been a K per inning, kind of close, not completely close. The walks are still a little concerning in that one. All right, I'm going to pivot to the most money spent in OCs. Francisco Alvarez was the most, 276 was the max on that one. Let's just have a minute to pour one out here. Bubba Chandler was picked up in 5 leagues, as high as 251, as low as $1. So that's fair. It was 251 that was 17-4-2-1. So one person just said, screw it. I want Bubba Chandler. I'm going to drop Seth Halverson, who, yeah, it's a Rockies closer, but he's still getting the occasional save, Ben. I just want to bring it up. We don't have to really rag on the guy too much, but 251 for a guy that isn't even pitching good in AAA right now. And I don't know. I don't think the Pirates are bringing him up till September at this point.
There isn't even a news thing in his
No.
NFBC page for Bubba Chandler, which is kind of wild
It's
because he's a pretty big
silent.
prospect.
Yep.
So there's really no news to report on, which is kind of wild. It is the Pirates, though. I feel like at this point that it'd be well past the time where they're not going to have any harm from calling up Bubba in terms of service time or anything like that. But has he been doing all right in AAA?
He's been struggling the last month.
See, I never took him in DCs or anything, so I never really had to worry about how he was doing. But yeah, he has a 1.36 whip now. Still a good ERA, 3.27. A lot of walks, so maybe they're worried about the walks because he has 39 and 77 innings, which is not good. That's more than 4.5 per 9. Quick math, but yeah, definitely an interesting bid.
Yeah, just wanted to shout that one out. Austin Hayes was picked up in the only league he's available for 175. I like Austin Hayes. That's rich. Sandy Alcantara picked up in 14 leagues as high as 170. I want to ask you about this one, though. Hunter Green, available in one league, picked up for $160. He's going to start a rehab assignment this week. Probably still needs a couple starts, so we're hoping early August for Hunter Green. Would you have spent $160 on Hunter Green?
I don't think I would have been able to from an actual money standpoint.
Fair.
But yeah, he's definitely worth that much money. It's just that you're banking that he's fully healthy because he did come back, right? And then he got hurt again. Yeah.
Yep.
Or actually, no. I think he got hurt on the rehab assignment, right?
He got hurt on the rehab. It went from his groin to his back. Yes.
Yeah, it's a little concerning. But if you have some money to burn, like this, hopefully this person did, it makes sense because he does have ace potential going forward. Green, it's just a very risky ad.
Agreed. Let's bring this one up because it was mentioned in the Discord for some other people. Won't mention names just because I don't know if they want it out here, but Michael Harris. This was in OLACs and main events we're discussing, but in OCs, Michael Harris was picked up in 13 leagues, as high as 158, as low as $1, rightfully so. But he had two $100 plus bids in these formats. Michael Harris is obviously not having a great season, Ben. But where were you at on this? I know you talked about it in the Discord. I just want to bring it up to the listeners here. Is he was a player that many gave up on. Some are taking chances. It's because it's that time of the year. It's like a proven pedigree, but can he figure it out? Because it's been darn right horrible. Where would you be when it comes to Michael Harris, especially at a 12 compared to a 15?
So the closest experience I have is that in my main event that had nothing to lose, I fabbed Ozzie Albies when he was dropped, and I spent 90 something on him. And I think Harris is a very similar situation. Same team, same level of poor performance, arguably.
Sure.
So I pulled up Handy Dandy StatCast, and it's been pretty bad. The only thing that's really been good is his bat speed and his sprint speed, ironically enough, for Harris. But he does have a history of good underlying metrics. So maybe when Noker's argument has some water here, because Harris is consistently underwhelmed, and that's actually why I didn't want to draft Harris this year, because I was like, okay, after a certain point, he's got to be able to do it, and he still hasn't done it this year. But if you're fabbing someone, it's a lot different than drafting them, especially when they're a third or fourth rounder like Harris was.
Definitely.
And it's really just the homer is like the only bright spot that's happened recently for him, and he's playing every day, so he's giving you like a 0 average every day as well, if you want that, but the steals aren't even really there. He has 12 steals. Okay, that's okay, but 212 average, 7 homers in the year, only 23 runs. I think Ryan said one of your shows that he had like the fewest number of runs for qualified hitters or something like that, which is kind of crazy.
Checks out.
I think that was along those lines. So I would not have gone to. So what was the 158? What was the other ones?
There's 104 and a bunch of smaller ones. The smaller ones, I'm like, okay, I could see the appeal.
Below, yeah. So I wouldn't have gone as high as the 158 and the 104, but 78 and below, if you have nothing to lose, sure, I get it.
Yeah, and one of your biggest points there that I've kind of already done this, like I picked up an Alec Baum, I picked up a Max Muncy. Like, you didn't draft these guys. It's a different game now. Like, can they help your team or not? That it's a different mindset at this point in time. You're not worried about the third round value here. You're more worried about, hey, can he put together 2 months to fix your team compared to other guys on the waiver wire? That's
There's a reason he was drafted then. So can he actually perform to that level now for you?
So like I get the appeal now. Like I would never have drafted him. People are well aware of that by now. But I could have seen putting like $30 down in my world and seeing what happened, and that would have got him in like 4 of those leagues. So like I could have lived with that type scenario. All right, let's do a couple more, and then we'll do our ad drops. Camilo Duvall picked up for $140 in one league. Pete Fairbanks for $136. People need saves, apparently. Cam Schlittler, the Schlitz, picked up in 19 leagues, as high as 135, as low as $1. Little scare out of the All-Star break that apparently had to have an MRI, but he's pitching Tuesday. It's cleared to go. What are your thoughts on this, Ben? Because our main concern when we talked last time was how many starts does he get? Not that his shoulder was messed up, which we did not know until, Thursday? So Friday, maybe? So where are you at, Mr. Schlitz?
I was looking at my team for FAAB purposes, of course, on the one-man event where I did add – actually, I had him in 2 spots, but on the main event mostly because that's my highest priority league right now. And he's definitely my first pitcher to go, I think, going forward. There's no need to drop him yet, but I did post a tweet in the Discord about how Luis Heel has like a start or 2 left till he's potentially called up. It should be Stroman who gets lost first if Heel does go into the rotation. Luckily for Schlittler, though, it's his upper arm, so I'm assuming maybe a bicep or tricep, which tricep is tricky because we've had like McClanahan had a tricep and he's been dead all year. But the fact that the MRI was good and that he's going to start Tuesday is good. But I did mention him as an option for that one-man event, and the Blue Jays rake versus Reddies recently. I don't know how, but they do. So I'm not starting him. I haven't started him yet since he only had the 1 start, but I'm fine waiting. If I end up dropping him and never using him, it's okay. I didn't spend that much money on him, but I would not have gone as heavy as like a 150, was it 135 or even in an OC, the one I would have been okay with is 19. That was the 4th highest bid, a lot of single digits, which I'm fine with because he's a very speculative play. And it's mainly because of Heel. I just hope that Heel, if he does make the rotation, takes out Stroman for now. And the Yankees are probably going to trade for someone too. Maybe they trade Schlittler in that trade for a starter or something. So maybe he ends up starting somewhere else. But I'd just be careful and not get too attached to him. Because I'm not, even though I'm a Yankee fan and I have him in my most important league. But it's just you really got to be mindful of what happens with the next couple of weeks in the Yankees.
Yep, agreed. And Schlittler's name has been mentioned in some trade talks. So definitely an option if the Yankees go all in, per se, which I bet you would like to see at this point in time. All right, let's talk about our ads and drops from the week, Ben. I'm really curious because we're pretty much a boring week overall with the names we just discussed. So I'm curious to see what you picked up this week.
Yeah, I was a little active. Definitely not a lot of money spent, though, because that's how things are lately. All right, so main event 1, the New Jersey main event. I'm trying to make a push into cash. I got a long way to go, but the team's been playing better lately. I added Tomoyuki Sagano, dropped Kider Montero 6-5. Sagano has a nice 2 start this week. Hopefully he does not get destroyed. And then I added Will Benson. This is my first of 4 drops. I dropped Jake McCarthy 2-0. Will Benson, I think, gets 6 righties this week.
And he's sitting game 1, by the way. I saw that today and I just laughed. I'm like, Jesus criminy. Because I'm with you. The move made 1,000% sense, what you did. And it goes back. Yeah, it goes back to the Garcia thing. And I'm like, my Moniak joke earlier. Like, what are we doing here? That was.
So I'm looking at the lineup now. Yeah, Marte's playing 3rd. That kicks. Yeah. Oh well, but we'll see.
He'll still
actually he hasn't played in a while, Benson.
But just like on paper though, he's like, okay, why is he not playing? And then good times.
Right, maybe I have time to switch him out then. But oh well. Maybe he plays in the next 2 games and does all right or something. But we'll see. All right, and that was the only 2 ads for there. And then main event 2, I added your boy ADC Adrian Del Castillo, dropped Kyle Teal 18-5. Teal's been atrocious. Another reason why you don't FAAB big on rookies, I didn't spend that much for him, but he's been awful. Then I added Nolan Jones, dropped Jake McCarthy 3-1. Then I added JP Sears, dropped Verlander 2-1. Main event 3, so this is the one that's been competing for the overall. This is where I added Luke Keeschel. I dropped Jake McCarthy 18-3, a little bit on overpay, but I want to make sure I got him because my team has just stopped running completely, and that's my biggest spot to gain in the main event. I have like 200-something points in steals, and I need to make a move there. So I think Keeschel and his speed can hopefully help me, assuming everything goes well.
And McCarthy was your speed guy, so it makes sense.
Well, and on that team, I had McCarthy and Thomas because I was willing to play both. Alec Thomas, that is. I was willing to play both of them just because they're supposed to steal and not be okay. And McCarthy's supposed to be a good average guy too, and I need a little average boost. And it's just very frustrating that at least trade McCarthy because he could start in many teams. I think his defense is okay too. I don't get it's completely I only like him in fantasy because of what he can bring to the table. It's not that for whatever reason I just like McCarthy. I think he's a good guy in terms of profile. It's just how they handle him is very annoying, and hopefully the trade deadline frees some space up for him so he can play every day. And then I'll add him again for like the third time this year. I don't care. And then in the listener league, I added Will Benson again, dropped Jake McCarthy 2-0. This is a pretty pathetic. This tells you all you need to know. So I added Kyle Higashioka, dropped Kyle Teal 1-0. Added Nick Lofton, dropped Tyro 1-0. And I added Andrew Vaughn, dropped Eduardo Rodriguez 1-0. So $5, 4 ads.
I like it. I'm all about the cheapness, but now I have $1 million left over. So, but I respect it. I'm with you. Like I was active, but it wasn't like crazy. But one of my OCs, I mentioned this in the Discord. Drew Rasmussen was available in a few leagues. I got him in this OC, $33, runner up 22. Dropped Randy Rodriguez. Like they say, Drew's gonna be back for at least 5 inning starts. I'll take my chances there. Then I picked up Caleb Durbin, dropped Marcelo Meyer 4-3. Meyer's just been whatever. Like there's nothing there. He's a waste of bench space at this point in time. Beat Bubba OC, picked up Brandon Fott, dropped Reed Detmer 7-1. Picked up Lennon Sosa, dropped Alec Boehm 1-0. So definitely not my first priority there, but that's where we sleeping ducks lie. One of my 12-team standalones didn't get anybody. That's because I really didn't see anybody to pick up in that league. I didn't want you, Darvish. Vegas standalone, though, picked up Kumar Rocker, dropped Cody Clemens 7-1. Max Muncy went for $40 in that league. Maybe I should have got back on that train. Bubba in the Bloom Listener League picked up Jack Perkins, dropped Sean Burke. I just spec'd on this one because pitching is not much available in that league. And I have a lot of money to spend. So $17 to no runner-up. Perkins was rumored to go into the rotation, did not, but I'll hold on to him a little longer. Joey Cantillo picked him up, dropped Hayden Birdsong 14-10. I'm moving on from Birdsong. I think the Giants might pretty soon as well. And then I picked up Tommy Pham, dropped Gavin Lux 8-5, and Tommy Pham is not starting on Monday. So that is awesome. They're letting Jack Sawinski start instead. Good stuff, boys. My OLAC picked up Nathan Lucas, dropped Max Muncy, the A's Max Muncy, 12-0. Lucas has been playing really well. Good set of games this week, sitting on Monday. Picked up Nick Gonzalez, dropped Sean Burke 9-1. That's a bummer there, and that's all we need to discuss. So, yeah, not a crazy week, but I feel your pain picking guys up that aren't even starting right now. So that's gotta love baseball. We're not even in September yet, Ben. It hasn't even got crazy yet. So I don't know what these teams are doing, but I guess time will tell.
The Reds are getting pretty credit, though. I was looking at as we were talking about Benson, I was looking at their lineup, and the only spot really is Gavin Lux, but I don't know.
So he's not good right now either.
He's as useless as can be. I played him way too long in my one-main event. It was like he was my Gene Segura for the start of the season.
Yep. I had him for a while, and I put him on the bench. And I just mentioned I just dropped him in a league, a 15-team, I believe. I said, and he's got 3 in Great American. I did not care. Like, I'm just not doing this anymore with Gavin Lux. He just doesn't do it for me right now. So
yeah, he has no power. Can't even steal.
It's bad. It's really, really bad. I wanted to mention some news that came through while we were recording. Let me pull it back up in the Discord here where it was posted. Denzel Clark. I was looking last night when I was doing my news and notes. I knew he left his game, but nothing was on Twitter anywhere. Denzel Clark has a grade 2 adductor strain. He'll be placed on the injured list. No timeline, but he'll be at least a couple of weeks. For a grade 2, it's going to be at least a month, if not longer. Hate to break it to people. So I would imagine, honestly, Denzel Clark might miss most of the rest of the season. And he's starting to hit the ball, but now I'm curious to see what the A's do from here. That's the big question. So
that was an annoying injury because a lot of people actually didn't see that. I don't think because he was added in a handful of leagues in the main event, Clark. But he was pretty hype on my waiver bids. Actually, I probably would have got him over Will Benson, honestly, if the injury didn't happen. But yeah, it's unfortunate because I think he'll be good for DC's next year, Clark, because of he has the defense, and then in that park he has the power and the speed. It's just if he can keep the K's in check, which is hard to do, but we've seen other people do it before too.
Well, and so many of those young players, it's worth, like, especially in DCs, that's what it's all about, is take those chances late, see if they figure. It's like Soderstrom hasn't been great late, but the way he started out, he tweaked things and got better. And I honestly think, and it's been almost correlated to the line of when they started playing him in the outfield, his production wavered. Don't move guys around. That's the key to this one. But yeah, I'm with you on Clark. He's going to be another guy to kind of highlight come DC season and see where it goes. It won't be my early draft because the reserve rounds are drafted in November. So I got time to worry about that. He won't be going in the first 11 rounds of that draft, I don't think. So we're good there. All right, Ben, we will wrap it up there. Hopefully we have some, I don't know, there's no call-ups coming anytime soon. So it's going to be weeks like this for a little while. Like you mentioned earlier, it might be time to start looking at projected matchups coming up and all that kind of stuff for streaming options as well. But any final thoughts as we head into week 19 of the season?
I think the one, I was at a news item as well. It looks like Eovaldi's going to start on Wednesday.
Okay, that's good.
And Freeman's back in the lineup too, Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I benched both those guys this week. I just wasn't feeling it. Well, so you're all welcome. You're all welcome on that.
Thank you, Bubba, because I am playing both of them where I have.
You're all welcome
my
on
NFBC
what's
leagues.
taking place. Yes, and it pains me to see Eovaldi, but like the news is so wishy-washy, and John Gray's getting activated that day. Like, do they piggy? Like, I have so many questions involved there. I hope Eovaldi shoves. Let's put it that way. The dude's amazing. But
I had put in Reed Detmers versus him, and Detmers does have a 7-game week, and he didn't really pitch a lot this past weekend, so he could be in line for a lot of work. But Eovaldi's been too good, and he's facing the A's at home, so I think it's worth the risk potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, Detmers will probably pitch great this week because I had him in a lot of lineups last week and did nothing in those 3 days, like you said. So he's not in my lineups this week. So you're correct. He will probably have a great 7 games coming up as well. Yes.
At least he didn't go Luke Weaver on you though, because that hurts. I'd rather have a nothing versus a Luke Weaver.
100% agree on that one. It's and we're gonna have a lot like pitching, man. I know pitching throughout the season gets kind of gross. It's really bad right now, like really, really bad. There's not a lot of good starts these days. So take what you can get and run. It feels like at this point in time.
Yep.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Make sure y'all check out Ben on the Twitter at BreakingBen_T. I'm at BD Entrick, and until next time, Bench with Bubba, episode 776. Catch y'all later.